Welcome to our webinar on intelligent claims handling. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Ayla Waals, and I work in the marketing department at Van der Meijden Group. So today we'll be presenting the intelligent claims process and introducing innovative instruments that we use to automate steps along this process within Van der Meijden. For those who may be less familiar with us, I have a short introduction for you. Van der Meijden Group is a global conglomerate with over 35 affiliated companies operating in more than 100 offices across 30 countries. We have Van der Meijden branded companies and unique companies that we've acquired and merged with over the years. We've become a leader in claims and risk management, committed to transforming how insurance and related industries tackle complex challenges, enhancing efficiency and precision in claims processing. We also serve diverse businesses and industries and provide international clients with interim staffing, claim software, marine surveying, loss adjusting, valuations, and much more. So that's a little bit about us. Please visit our website to find out more about services or locations. So now I'd like to turn it over to Koen Molenaar, who is our go-to claims expert, especially when it comes to automation throughout the claims process. And if anybody has any questions throughout the webinar, or Koen is going too fast, or something is not clear, please write something in the chat or the FAQ, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. All right, Koen, please take it away.
Thanks, Ayla. Thanks for the introduction. Well, I think, and that's also an important statement to make in the beginning, the webinar is, of course, about AI, but it's mostly about automation, because to use AI as an instrument, it's essential to actually understand how we automate and how we use that process. So as Ayla says, I have a lot of information and only 25 minutes, so I'll probably go pretty fast. But if you have any questions, please reach out. Okay. First, before we start in the AI domain, it's important to understand, okay, what is claims handling and what is the process? Because I think, and this is something that has been misperceived so many times in the AI atmosphere. There is no AI if you don't have a solid process underneath. So before we start, let's give a first impression about how our claim handling process works. First step, going in the wrong direction, sorry. First step, of course, we have the first notice of loss. So the claim needs to enter. We serve via many channels. We see some channels will grow, and that's, of course, necessary if you want to have a digital flow. So, for instance, we can capture the floor via an API, or we can capture it via a digital form. And as soon as it's entered into our system, we perform a first intake. Now, we'll come into that part quite detailed later on, because I think there are many opportunities to automate. Then we have the triage phase, in which we perform cover check. We set an initial reserve. We look, okay, which handling team is going to handle the claim or partially handle. And then eventually the claim comes into the claim handling itself, where we do the real handling, have the liability question answered, have the reserves detailed, and eventually come to a payout and recovery phase where we can close down the claim. So if we capture this process, then our first question is, okay, how can we fully automate that process? Because that's the mission of Van der Meijden Systems. So within the Van der Meijden Group, we have a specific entity called Systems. We have 105 people dedicated for all IT services. And our mission is, okay, let's fully automate this process. Before we can automate, we need a spine. And for us, the spine is Echo. So Echo is our claim handling system. We developed it since, I think, 2006. This is the second version, so we call it R2, which is now 6 years active. And within this claim management system, we guide the handler towards the handling of the claim. So basically, The system is set up very easily. On the left side, you have the information about the incident, okay, what actually happened. Then we follow the logical process of handling. So first we have the coverage information, and if there is a coverage with the policy details, the reserve setting, the liability question, and eventually the payments underneath. And to ensure that all handlers are guided throughout the system, we have a workflow in place, which is configured for each specific product. And based on the information that comes into the claim handling, specific actions are triggered, and these actions are, well, they are followed by the claim handler. This also provides us a solid basis to perform automation or partial automation within these steps. We're here for automation. So it's important to identify the different instruments that we used to automate this process. And I will go into the details of each, because I think it's not only about the AI, it's also about the business decision modeling and partial automations. So throughout the years, we have set up these instruments. And if I start with the first one is straight-through processing. I think it's still a very applicable instrument. The business ruling itself to come from a FNOL without human intervention to a claim out, to a payout, is something that we have done over the last 10 years and are still using it in many cases. In 2018, we started with RPA. In 2021, we initiated what we call process AI. Well, process AI is not really a common verb in the innovation world, but it's basically explains that we use machine learning to support the process, but we don't use machine learning yet to generate specific messages or to automate via agents. And so in 2021, we initiated process AI, and 2024, we initiated generate AI. Now, to dive back into time, let's quickly dive into 2015, because I think it's essential to start there. The promise of STP is or was that you have a digital FNOL. It's coming in, and without any intervention, you can come to the payout. That's the promise. Sounds easy, but of course, the reality is way more complex. So basically, if we look into the STP, I always perceive it as a conveyor belt. So you start with putting something on the conveyor belt, which is the mobile FNOL, and it runs through all these steps. So first, we gather the details. Do we have sufficient details about what actually happened? Do we know the contract, and do we know the contract coverage details? Have we got all things available to perform the intake? If not, the FNOL would drop off the conveyor belt, and well, there is a human intervention necessary to get it back onto the conveyor belt. Then the next steps would be to perform the coverage check. So assuming that we have all information, to see if there's not a duplicate claim in our backend, to make sure that the incident is assigned to the right team and that the initial reserves are set. Eventually to also check if we need additional information, because if we need additional information, STP is still is not valid anymore. You would need human intervention, especially in 2015, to retrieve that information and to then start the handling itself. The system informs the customer to handle. We determine liability, determine the necessity of expertise. So if the claim amount exceeds threshold, we would need expertise. That's also a trigger for not having an STP process. Eventually confirm that all information is gathered and the reserves are complete, potential initiation of recovery, and eventually the payout of the customer. Now, if you see this full process, the whole question with STP is, are you able to do this as a decision model in one go? We did this logically, as many, for storm and glass incidents. So basically, and I think it's always funny to mention, we have our virtual claim handler. It's called Johnny Storm, and he can handle claims until €1,000 for specific coverages, in this case for storm. So with the simple claims, it's easy to automate it as a decision model. If the complexity increases, logically, there is a necessity to have human interventions, and then our perception of STP is no longer valid. That does not mean that you can still do partial STP, but then, of course, there's a bit of a difference in the way that you approach the STP decision modeling. This prerequisite still remains the same. So it does not matter which instrument you use, the success of the instrument is in the intake. So if we have a full FNOL gathering all information at the start, we're able to logically handle way more automated than if we have, for instance, a phone call or partial information. Now, in 2018, we acknowledged that there are a lot of legacy systems where we need to retrieve information from. And here is where the RPA angle came in. So besides the STP business modeling, we also started to say, okay, let's take robots, and these robots are similar to what a human could do on a machine, and let's push these robots in all different areas in the process. So, for instance, we have robots that gather the specific information from a third-party system, translate it to the setup that we need within our claim handling system, and then push it towards there. So this overview, you see there are many places where we start using robots. We have used it for the consolidation of customer information and connecting it through legacy systems. And then basically it's always in the same pattern, extracting data from the third-party system, looking if we have some business rules where we can add some intelligence to the data, check if there is an incident that relates to the data, and then consolidate it back into the system. Now, how did we use it? Currently, we have over 75, I think even more right now, processes that we partially robotized. Meaning if our robots would not run, we actually have a serious issue in our capacity because we rely on these daily tasks that they perform. Of course, the benefits are easy. It's very efficient. It's always up and running, and it's saving a lot of manual hours. But there is a downside to this, to the robot part, because as soon as the context changed, the robot is confused, and that means that it's a very linear automation tool, and therefore we have the necessity of having a continuous team to actually keep all these changing environments updated. The next step is process AI. Like I mentioned, it's not really a real common verb, but it's basically using AI or machine learning in our daily tasks to support the process, not to generate or add specific intelligence. So within Van der Meijden, we handle around 1 million claims. And therefore, the correspondence is huge. We have around 2 million emails and 5 million documents that flow throughout our organization. If you would bring that down to the amount of hours necessary to actually handle all these emails and documents, it's about 85,000 hours. Now, what we do is we use a machine learning model to interpret these incoming emails and documents. And basically, currently, we already have 15,000 emails and 23,000 documents on a weekly basis being interpreted by this AI. And the result is that we save around 500 hours per week. Now, how did we do this? The bottom line was simple. So in 2021, our board said, we want to have a a model in place where we can say the agent should handle all the daily correspondence, while the claim handler has more time available for the customer and for the handling process itself. So we initiated the AI model, and actually it needed to fulfill 4 tasks. So the first task was, is it able to read the correspondence? So is it able to identify, hey, this is an email and it's a question, it's gathering information about driver's license or anything else? Is it able to interpret the intent of the email, to classify it towards the right cases, and to eventually allocate it back into our claim handling system, into Echo? And of course, the questions were yes, otherwise I would have not presented it. And basically we said, okay, the administrative task that normally did the handling of these documents and emails was used to classify and to train the model itself. And the training back then, we talk about 2021, was to, let me first take the next slide, was to color code incoming emails, and by learning by example, let the machine learning model be trained based on that information. And what then the process AI did was basically gathering the incoming email, interpreting, okay, where should I allocate it and what is it, bringing it to the backend system, and eventually giving a notification to the handler. Hey, we have, for example, a driver's license. It's set into the right claim of Koen Molenaar. The driver's license is valid. Please continue handling. So that's this very simple pattern that we automate by using AI. Now, as soon as you look into the way of training the model, in 2-3 years' time, it's already a rather outdated way of working, because right now the models are already capable of training itself, or you're able to use LLM models that are more sophisticated. So you see that the speed of all these innovations are going very, very, very fast. Now, if I go to the last part, so this is in 2024, the generative AI part, and I think this is the part where we start using the AI not only for interpretation of incoming messages, but also creating outgoing correspondence and actually advising the handler. Okay, so we decided to use the intake process for the generative AI part. And basically we said, okay, let's strip down the most common functions, and then in this case for motor, to see, okay, what are the capabilities that we would need from this AI. And we came down to this overview. I'll share the slides with you in the recap, but basically we said, okay, are we able to identify the case itself? Are we able to retrieve all information of the case? Are we able to interpret the ASAF? So having all the handwritten text into FNOL that actually makes sense. Are we then able to identify which documents have we received and which documents are missing? And this is all done by the AI, so there's no manual task here. If we miss information, could we then write an email towards the claimant to retrieve that missing information? And eventually, if everything is available, could we then bring a summary with all the details, a liability advice and a sketch of the accident towards the handler, so that he immediately can start the handling itself? Basically, this is how it works. So here we have the handwritten form, and the FNOL is entered into our system. What we then see is we create with an OCR kind of solution, a structured data set where we have all the information of the specific claim. And then we see, hey, there is information missing. And there's no human intervention in the process. We created this interface to show how this works. If there's missing information, the system would be able to generate the email. Of course, we use a human in the loop approach at this time to check, okay, is this email valid? Are there no strange generations? If not, email can be sent to the customer, and the customer is able to add the missing information. If the missing information is added, the system would generate the summary. Okay, this is what actually happened, and it would also create a sketch and all other information like the liability advice. Now, the interesting thing here is, okay, how well are you capable of implementing this into your systems? And what we did is, and this is what we have done in the last 2 quarters, we have identified our developments where we are going to use the AI-driven approach. So if you take again the full claim process, what we would do is check if photos are valid or potential fraudulent via AI. Have the coverage check not only done with the current linear approach, hey, is there a coverage available, but also looking into the to the details of that coverage. Checking the reserves. Of course, we already set initial reserves based on costs. So if we have a FNOL incoming, we know, okay, this is going to be the initial reserve. But if you have more information, the AI agent is able to fine-grain that reserve and eventually provide you with that information as well. We determine if there's a need for an expertise, and we also set up the activities already in our ecosystem. And like I mentioned, we determine a liability. With the human in the loop, it's always a liability advice. So there is always a handler necessary to check that. And we are fine-graining the cost estimate. So what is the claim cost? During the process, we provide summaries of the information, and this is something that we have under development. We want to have a constraint body in the claim handling process, which provides you with, okay, this is the current summary of all information, and this could be the potential next step that I would suggest as your AI agent. Now, to create this, it's essential to look again at the intake domain itself. So right now, what we are developing is a AI native intake and triage domain, meaning agnostic from the FNOL, having all information coming into what we call our intake and triage domain, and then walk through the steps as I just identified during the POC. So in the intake, we do the OCR to retrieve the information, and we let an AI check if the data is valid. During verification, we see if, hey, is the FNOL complete and what is the quality? If there is a potential fraud indication, the whole process is blocked and a fraud officer needs to check. If that's not the case, then we check, okay, is there additional information necessary? And if so, let's request that information by GenAI, of course, with a human in the loop step, and perform the intake again. If not, if all information is available and there's no potential fraudulent behavior, we process to go towards the liability advice, the initial reserved, the draft sketches I just shown, and bring the process to our handler with the next step. Hey, we provide all information, handler, please continue. Or if there is no handling needed, we can go towards the STP conveyor belt approach and initiate the payments. To quickly recap, because 30 minutes is too short. Basically, we have a journey, and it's not an AI-specific journey, it's a claim automation journey. It started with the STP and eventually bringing us now to a AI native intake. And of course, you see new innovations. So for instance, the AI orchestration, where you can use several AI agents throughout the process to actually come to the handling itself. We are also testing these and see if we can, well, bring that in the second part of this year to a real production stage. Now, I don't know if there are any questions. We have a few minutes left. Thanks for your time and interest. Let me see.
Thank you, Koen. It was a really nice presentation. I see that we do have a question. I'm missing loss adjustment on the flows. Could AI assist and have an important role for loss adjusters?
Yes, absolutely. Each process could be well supported by the AI. Currently, I don't know if we have already specifically booked loss adjusting so I need to check, but I will come back to you, Rui. Any other questions?
Well, in the meantime, I'd like to launch a short poll question asking if you've already automated your claims process with Gen AI. Thanks, yes.
And if there are any questions over the next few days that you have, just please reach out. It's a really interesting topic, and it's evolving extremely fast. For example, last week I noticed that the cloud model was upgraded again and now capable of running well, single processes for more than 7 hours. And if you would think about the tremendous amount of possibilities that you would have if you have an AI running for such a long time. So basically all the questions that I ask my AI are normally answered within 5 to 10 seconds. So that's a really on-purpose AI process. But if you then have an agent that is actually getting a context, for example, well, retrieving all the information regarding a specific claim and then running for a few minutes, the amount of information you would get is significant. And I think if you look into the future from the last 6 months past, so 6 months ago, around 35% of the complex tasks were, well, possibly solved by AI. And now in the last models that I have read, you see about 75% of complex questions are fully and correctly answered. So that is a huge improvement in 6 months. It's actually exceeding the expectations that people had, meaning the next 6 months will bring so much more innovation possibilities. It's impressive.
Definitely. And Koen, you continue referring to the POC or the proof of concept. What success rates have we seen within Van der Meijden during our Gen AI proof of concept?
Well, the threshold that we have is 95%. So we say if we have 95% success rate, then we are capable of bringing these solutions to production. Right now, we already have reached that on specific domains, and we will bring full intake to production to specific areas this year.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thanks everybody, and love to hear your questions. So please reach out if you have any.
Yeah, and if I can understand, maybe it takes some time to sink in. I will follow up with an email afterwards so that you can share a recording with colleagues or watch it back. And yeah, feel free to visit our website or send us an email at marketing or directly to Koen. Maybe if you can go to the next slide, Koen, then people can see how. Yeah, and yeah, feel free to connect with Koen or Van der Meijden Group on LinkedIn to stay in the loop about upcoming webinars or recordings. And thank you everybody for the positive feedback.
A pleasure.
Thank you for joining, and hope to see you next time. Thanks a lot, Koen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.